Hi everyone, Sandra here from the Chauvin's Nest. Today I'm going to show you how to create this cute little farm fresh eggs basket. So first you'll need some type of crate. I chose this wooden one that has the chicken wire on the one side and it has a beautiful wood grain, so I'm not going to paint this, I'm going to leave it the wood color. It was $4 at Dollarama. Then you'll need some eggs. These are plastic. They were $2 for the dozen at Dollarama. You're going to want something that you can paint because we will be decorating these. The third thing you'll need is a little pallet sign or some type of little wooden sign. This one's made out of MDF. It was $2.50. And then we're going to use our chalked paint from Rust-Oleum, chiffon cream, and linen white. And also we're going to use some different colors of craft paint to stain the eggs, whatever colors you want them to be. So I'm going to do kind of some beiges, browns, and possibly a little bit of blue. These eggs that I got are plastic. They have little hangers on them, so you could hang them on a little egg tree. I'm assuming they would be for Easter. I'm going to be removing that part with a pair of pliers. I decided to use 9 eggs. Now that I've got my little basket full, I'll probably continue with the other 3 as well, but I'm going to just start out by painting a base coat of the cream chiffon and white linen chalk paint on the eggs. There's a hole on the bottom of each egg, and at first I was going to fill it up with hot glue, but then I thought it might be easier to be able to put the egg onto something and hang onto it while I was painting. I ended up using Q-tips. These seemed to work okay, but I had a hard time getting the little cotton part through the hole without making it bigger. I think next time I'll probably use some bamboo skewers or some tiny little dowels. So I painted some eggs cream and some eggs white, and I just stuck the other end of the Q-tip and popped it in some styrofoam just so they wouldn't be rolling around on the table. And then I decided to take some yellow and some brown, mix that in with the white and the creams just to get a little bit of different shading for the eggs. Here's an up-close look at the different shades of the eggs. You can, from far away, it's hard to tell that they're actually different colors. And you do see some of the paintbrush lines or the sponge brush lines, but I'm okay with that texture. I think it just adds to the effect of more of a real egg. I did play around with some of the colors, adding more or less paint where I felt I needed to just get the shade that I wanted. While the eggs were drying, it was time to take the tin piece off of the little pallet sign. It actually came off quite easy. I just popped my screwdriver underneath and it just came off really well with just leaving a little bit of the cardboard on the back, but that's okay. And then I'm going to take some 80 grit sandpaper and just sand down the rough edges. Once you're done sanding, just wipe it off, but take a cotton cloth or some type of rag, lint-free, and just wipe off the excess dust. So there's a hanger stapled on, just some jute string. I don't need that for the craft that I'm making, so I'm just going to use my screwdriver and pop out the staples and remove the string. I picked up the black palette signs because I wanted to have that dark background. I'll be painting it with the chiffon cream, and I'm going to make sure that I get the sides and even the in-between little palette pieces, the little backing parts. I want everything to be the cream color. I'm not going to be too concerned about covering all of the black because I do want it to be a little streaky and look a little rustic. So after 2 coats of paint on the pallet sign and on the eggs, this is what they look like. Once the paint is dry, I'm going to take my 80 grit sandpaper and just rough up the edges around the boards. I want some of that black to show through so it looks a little bit worn and rustic. This stencil that I'm going to use to put my words on is from the Dollar Tree, and it's kind of a farmhouse looking font, so I'm going to use that. On the pallet sign, I'm going to put farm fresh eggs. The farm and the eggs is going to be with this particular stencil. I'm just going to cut the stencil apart in between the letters because it's easier to work with smaller pieces. And then I'm going to simply use a pencil to outline the letters. I find that if I'm using a sponge dabber, I just end up bleeding too much outside of the letters themselves and I make a mess. So I just prefer to use a pencil. So this is what the stencil looks like, just with the farm and the eggs, and the fresh will go in the middle. So checking out trusty Pinterest again, I found a nice little farmhouse fresh sign that I'm going to use as inspiration for my sign. So using my pencil, I'm going to just follow along and freehand the word fresh the way I see it on the font on my iPad. Using a quite fine paintbrush, I'm going to use my burnt umber acrylic paint and fill in the letters on my pallet sign. You'll notice that when I do it, I hold the paintbrush more like a colored pencil or a marker, and I use it that way, loading my brush each time I want to go on to the letters and basically just coloring it in. The lettering's done and completely dry, and so now I'm going to take my 80 grit sandpaper and just scratch across the letters so some of the paint comes off and there's just some marks and it looks a little bit more rough. When I was looking at eggs at Michael's, they had little brown speckles on them, so I'm going to take this bristle brush and use my burnt umber acrylic paint and just give them some really fine speckles. To do this, simply load up your brush with some paint and don't dab too much of it off, and then you're just going to use your finger and just roll it over the brush so it just throws some paint splatters onto the eggs. It's a little hard to see the paint splatters, but I wanted it really fine. You can see there's a bit of a chunk there. Now I have everything ready to put together, and I'm not an Excelsior fan, so I decided to just take some of that jumbo butcher twine and unroll a whole bunch of it and just kind of pile it into the bottom of the wooden crate. Here's the finished piece all put together with the eggs, the sign, the rope, and the crate. I think it turned out really sweet, really simple and easy to do, and it's going to find a home on my kitchen counter. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and click the bell to get notified when I upload new videos. Thanks for watching!